Well, there is no doubt that the coronavirus is going to change our lives and the way we do things on so many levels. So we wanted to start checking in regularly with our futurist and friend Nick Badminton to see how our world may change both in the short term and long term. And Nick Badminton is on the line and joins us here on Global News Radio 640 Toronto. Nick, good afternoon. I trust you're staying well.
I'm doing well, thanks, Jeff.
Good to hear. All right, today we are going to discuss education, and I want to begin kind of in the short term. The Premier, Doug Ford, was asked about this earlier this afternoon, whether or not May 4th we're still going to see school restarted. He would not say that that is a definitive date, that it's just too early to say that. But when our kids do eventually get back to school, Nick, how do you see school unfolding? I mean, are desks going to be certain distances apart? Is there even going to be such a thing as recess anymore?
I can't really answer that question definitively, but I think that there's some interesting things happening. Out in Taiwan, they're actually opening up restaurants again, but they're actually setting desks a certain distance apart, I think about 1.5 meters. And what's interesting is actually applying that in the schoolroom would be a really smart idea at this time, whilst we sort of maintain decorum and we can go about the school day in as normal way possible.
Yeah. Do you think that e-learning, and we're seeing that going on right now, the provinces reached out to parents, having them go online with their kids to continue education in some form, in some shape or form in the interim. Do you find, or are we going to find that e-learning is going to become even more prevalent?
Yeah, I think we're going to head towards a world of hybridized learning, and we're going to have at-home and at-school learning. So it's really important for kids to be together for those social skills, the practical lessons like biology, chemistry, and the such, like sports and fitness as well. But really, I do think that there could actually be a chance to put a percentage of the classes at home, and those kids can wake up in the morning, get focused, sit down, not have to travel to school and be distracted by other kids. Get through some of those lessons, maybe 1 or 2 days a week, and then get back to school for the other 3 days for the more in-person activities.
I wanted to ask you about those in-person activities. Sure, there's some advantages to e-learning or at-home learning that you just mentioned there, but aren't there some disadvantages in particular, not being face-to-face, not only with the teacher, but with your fellow students? And are we perhaps risking the loss of social skills?
Yeah, absolutely. These social skills are so very important as children are growing up, and building interaction in groups as well. Learning those dynamics really gives us the skill to operate when we get out into the wider world of work. So it's incredibly important that will stay as part of what we're doing. If we went 100% online, suddenly I think you're going to find a lot more children are going to be reclusive. Some are going to thrive, and a lot are really going to suffer in those situations.
Yeah. Is it going to be traumatic, do you think, or is this just a different way of socializing that we see this next generation, socializing online when it comes to gaming? And they, of course, have been ahead of the curve when it comes to things like FaceTime and Zoom that I think a lot of their parents and a lot of adults, by necessity, have had to discover over the last couple of weeks.
I think one of the most concerning things that I've been paying attention to and reading reports by Europol and other agencies as well is that as children are spending more time online, parents are leaving them more unchecked. And those children are susceptible to having adults that are trying to build relationships with them. These are adults that are unsolicited communications, and that's actually a real worry for these social platforms, gaming, social media to get information or pictures or whatever. So we do have to be really careful. At this time, parents and teachers need to really speak to the children, make sure that there's some very clear rules about engaging online so that this can actually work in a way that's going to be sensible and so that the children are protected as well.
I think that's an excellent point, Nick, because, parents, sometimes they leave their kids in front of the computer almost as a babysitter, right? Here, just watch this movie that will entertain you. That is not going to suffice when it comes to education, that you need to be involved with your child and their education.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, I think that these systems are going to be set up in place so that the activity online can be watched so that there isn't a distraction. There is a focus on activity. They're already starting to do this with exams where cameras can watch you actually take exams and they can maintain the integrity of that process. So I think that now we have to walk that tightrope of of helping children, protecting children, but not necessarily having surveillance for the sake of surveillance, but really oversight for the sake of making sure that the children get the education they need and that they're safe.
Joined by Futurist Nick Badminton as we discuss how our world may differ going forward now and into the future after the COVID pandemic. We're talking about education here today. And as we talk about perhaps a greater dependency, if you will, on e-learning, Nick, is one of the things that we should be concerned about is kids' sports and fitness, how active they are, and is phys ed, can it be replaced?
Not really. I mean, obviously, if a kid is at home and they're working, or maybe they're with their brothers and sisters, they can get out and they can run around and hit the bikes and stay fit that way. I think team sports actually teaches you an interesting dynamic out in the world. And we see this in the workplace as well. You know, we have leadership and we have delegation. We have ways of working out everyone's role in the team. So I think these are really formative years, and it's really important to see kids in those dynamics and to really have teachers and parents foster that kind of collaboration, because that's what's needed in the world today more than ever.
Yeah, just finally, Nick, are we also going to have to examine and look at the curriculum and what we're teaching our kids and what they're learning? Are the skill sets, are they changing, and is education changing with it?
I've been speaking with educational authorities for a long time back in the UK and in North America as well, and been sort of hoping that they're going to start to see how the curriculum can evolve, because really we're in a world where people are starting their own businesses younger and younger. That entrepreneurship, design skills, art and science and technology and math is great, but really actually adding a veneer of being able to do something more with their own careers when they hit the world. What's really interesting is that a lot of children aren't going to have a normal career. They're not going to be in a job for 30, 40 years. They're going to be hitting the road running. They're going to be starting their own companies. So why don't we change the curriculum so we can actually empower Canadian entrepreneurs at a very young age and, really bolster the economy in that way?
Well, listen, pre-coronavirus, I think we all said change is happening at a more rapid pace than ever. And one thing's for sure, there is more rapid change ahead as we deal with and come out of this pandemic. And as I mentioned off the top, I think we're just scratching the surface. This is just only one topic, and we hope to check in with you regularly, Nick, on different issues and topics and how our world might change into the future, my friend.
I'd love to chat some more, Jeff.
We will for sure. Nick, thanks. Really appreciate the time this afternoon.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Take care.